Tonight on KPVI News at 5, the latest on a very long journey for one local veteran. Plus, a restless soul refuses to settle down during his own long journey. And a medical heads up, get your child vaccinated for free.
You're watching KPVI News at 5, news that works for you.
Good evening and thanks for watching tonight. I'm Matt Davenport.
And I'm Marlise Irby. Breaking news tonight, police swarm a house in Yukon after a man barricaded himself inside.
East Idaho News is reporting about 20 emergency personnel are on 113th North in Yukon, and many have their weapons drawn. Officials say deputies are currently working with the man to get him to come out of the home. He's reportedly the only person inside.
Authorities are asking people to avoid the area, but say there is no immediate threat to residents.
We'll keep an eye on this story as it develops. Now, to an update about a story about a pararescuer who tried to save a downed pilot in Laos almost half a century ago.
The man went back to Laos to help recover the remains of the pilot just a few years ago.
KPVI News that works for you reporter Deanne Coffin joins us now live from the newsroom with the details. Deanne.
Thanks, Matt. That man is Aberdeen native Leland Sorensen, who is now getting ready to head to Washington, D.C. for some long-awaited closure and the burial of the pilot's remains. Over 4 decades ago, Eastern Idaho man Leland Sorensen was a pararescueman for the United States Air Force. He was sent into Laos to help recover a downed pilot's body. The recovery mission was unsuccessful due to steep terrain and the body being entangled in the equipment and trees. Almost a half a century later, the Department of Defense asked Sorensen to go back to Laos to help with the search of the pilot's remains. The only thing that was ever found from that mission was some of the pilot's personal items and an identification card that belonged to the downed pilot. Recently, the Department of Defense went back to Laos and did an excavation where they found bone material and teeth. DNA testing showed it belonged to the downed pilot.
I've carried this for a long time. You know, from 1969 when I last saw his body there in the, crammed down in the trees in the hillside. Wrapped up in his parachute and equipment, and all the lines and the canopy and wrapped around him. And, some people thought I might have closure by going back to Laos and searching for those remains. And it helped, but, I think this will be the closure, because we will finally have buried him.
Leland and his wife are now getting ready to board a plane to Washington, D.C. this weekend to meet the family of the downed pilot and attend the ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery.
I am just feeling proud and privileged to be able to be a part of this. So proud of my husband and proud of our community for the way they've stepped up and wanted to help and donate money, and just so much love that we've been shown. And I'm so proud of our country that they go to this extra work of searching and finding and bringing home these people who have been lost for so long. And I'm really grateful for that and very excited to meet his family.
Sorensen and his wife will be leaving for Washington, D.C. this Saturday. A service will be held at the Fort Myer Old Post Chapel, which will be followed by graveside military rites at Arlington National Cemetery on Wednesday, April 25th. I'm Deanne Coffin, reporting live from the newsroom, KPVI News that works for you.
All right, thank you very much, Deanne.
Well, pretty cold and windy today, but we did see a little bit of spring yesterday.
Yeah. 2 hours of it. Little bit of time. Let's check in with meteorologist Paul Beam, who's filling in for Doug Iverson tonight. Paul.
Thanks, Matt. Marlise, we were definitely seeing spring-like weather yesterday. The sun was out, a lot less of the wind, but as we move it back into Monday, we are seeing a lot of those temperatures drop and closer to early winter weather. It's been a little bit of a mess here today. We were seeing snow rain mix earlier, and we have a wind advisory in effect from now until all the way on 9 p.m. Tuesday, with 50-mile-an-hour gusts and 30 to 40-mile-an-hour being the regular winds moving through the southern half of the Snake River Plain. So it's going to be another windy day that also accompanies a cold front moving through. You can see that line of snow down Chalice and Salmon right now splits into rain roughly in the Arco Desert. Over in Idaho Falls, already seeing some rain. Pocatello, you definitely saw some rain and some mix this morning. And that's going to get worse as we hit the nighttime hours. We're going to start to see that condense, which I'll have more on in the full forecast coming up later.
Well, thank you, Paul. An Idaho Falls man is dead after a crash involving 2 semi-trucks in Nebraska. Nebraska State Patrol say 61-year-old Rollo Ward was pronounced dead at the scene after the semi he was driving lost control and struck another semi. The crash happened Friday during a blizzard in western Nebraska, causing major problems on the roadways. At least 50 vehicles were stranded, and school buses had to be brought in to rescue drivers.
Romaine lettuce is to blame for 8 people getting E. coli in Idaho. Health officials are investigating the outbreak, which has been linked to chopped romaine lettuce from Yuma, Arizona. 8 people have been infected in Idaho. 3 people were hospitalized and 2 have developed kidney failure. No one in southeastern Idaho has been infected. This specific type of E. coli is known to cause more medical problems than other strains due to its toxins.
Possibly bloody diarrhea, the abdominal cramps, maybe some nausea, vomiting, possibly a fever. And then especially with younger kids, the thing we look at is the hemolytic uremic syndrome, or HUS for short, where it starts to affect the kidneys.
The department says no deaths have been linked to the outbreak. The CDC has not identified a common grower, supplier, distributor, or brand at this time.
Eastern Idaho Public Health is hosting a free childhood immunization clinic tomorrow in Idaho Falls. The goal is for children 18 and younger to receive their vaccines while making sure cost doesn't prevent them from doing so. Walk-ins are welcome, but it's recommended to call ahead and make an appointment.
We're really excited about this. Again, this gives a great opportunity for kids to come in and get vaccinated at no cost, which will provide better vaccine preventable disease immunity throughout our communities.
The clinic will be held Tuesday from 3 to 6 p.m. and parents are asked to bring their child's immunization cards with them. Well, several Idaho counties are taking their fight against opioid overdoses to the courtroom. The counties are suing the makers of oxycodone, Loratab, and other opioids, accusing them of fraud, false advertising, and racketeering. Their lawsuits have been consolidated into a case now being overseen by a federal court in Ohio's. Counties from Owyhee, Blaine, and Bonneville have joined in, and each hope to get some compensation for the indirect costs of opioid use.
Average retail gasoline prices in Idaho have risen 7.6 cents per gallon in the past week, averaging $2.93 per gallon yesterday. This is according to Gas Buddy's daily survey of 802 gas outlets in Idaho. On the national scale, prices have increased 5.2 cents per gallon in the last week on average. Prices yesterday were 45.8 cents per gallon higher than the same day 1 year ago and are 41.4 cents higher per gallon than a month ago.
Well, ever dreamed of taking a cross-country road trip? We talked to one man who's taken that dream to a whole new level. Tony Adams has been on the road for 18 years on his bike. He's been all throughout the United States. This is his 7th time to Idaho and his 2nd time to Pocatello. He weighs 150 pounds and his bike weighs over 600 pounds. Behind him, he wheels all his necessities, a mini kitchen, a laptop, ATV, and more. He uses solar panels to charge his electronics. He says he's never been tied down by anything, so he figured he'd use that freedom to travel.
I want to see new people, new experiences, different attitudes, different concepts of life. I tell people I'm searching for answers to questions you haven't asked.
Adams bikes all year round through all 4 seasons. He told us he's gotten frostbite multiple times and has even been hit by a car, but says it's all worth it.
Well, we'd like to welcome Marlise Irby to KPVI. She'll be joining us weeknights at 5 and 10. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Marlise?
Well, Matt, thank you so much for having me. Recently moved here from Anchorage, Alaska, so used to the cold weather. It is a little bit windier here, but originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm just really excited to be here.
All right, well, we got to continue that KPVI anchor tradition. High five.
Oh.
There we go. It wasn't a tradition, but it is now.
Okay.
All right, well, we want to welcome you, Marlise. Well, the feud between President Trump and fired FBI Director James Comey has reached an extraordinarily public level. That's coming up. But first, we'll send it back over to Paul Bean. Paul.
Well, thanks, Matt. And once again, welcome, Marlise. Unfortunately, that wind and that colder weather is sticking around for a bit. That temperature tracker, it's a very odd day to see Pocatello at 38 and Yellowstone warmer than us at 42, but that's exactly what we're seeing out there right now. You see that green line through Wyoming. We're seeing those colder temperatures sweep over the state. So Yellowstone's not far behind us, and we're going to see more snow and more wind from that, which I'll have more on in the full forecast coming up after the break.
You're watching KPVI News at 5 with Matt Davenport, Marlise Irby, and East Idaho's Chief Meteorologist Doug Iverson. KPVI News at 5, news that works for you.